For this section, we'll be looking at the import statement, which allows us to extend the usability and functionality of our code by importing other code snippets and modules, using import as and import from.
Let's look at how we can import the math module or math library to extend the functionality of Python. In here, we have this import math statement. What that's going to do is add this, we're going to call it a library, a bunch of code that extends Python's functionality, and we can, in this case, everything is related to mathematical operations. And we're going to look at this math.fab, so we call our math module, and then we use this period to call functionality inside the math module, and this is fabs, it's float absolute value. And just a little refresher on our math, we use these bars or pipe symbols around some variable or numeral, and we see a negative number becomes a positive number when we're using absolute value, and the float part means that we can have decimals included as well. And so here with a negative number becomes positive and a positive number becomes positive. Any value will become the positive of it. It will be the absolute value. So to test this first, let's run the code without the import statement, and then we're just going to check this value of x, which is -5, and to see what the absolute value is by calling the name of the module using a period or decimal place, and then the name of the function that we would like to run from that module. So I'm going to run that cell, and we get a name error because we don't know what math is. We have not defined it. And so we're going to put that back in so that Python knows what the math module is. It's now loaded into my notebook environment, and I can call this float absolute value function and get -5 if float absolute value is 5.0, and note the decimal point because we use float. Another way to import math is with an alias. I don't have to call it math. I can call it any arbitrary variable name that I'd like by using this as and then the name that I want to refer to the math module as. So in this case, I've used ML, which stands for, in this case, just math library. And that's an easier way for me to access with a shorter name, especially with more complex libraries. So let's go ahead and run that. And we see that calling ml.fabs is the same as calling math.fab. So we could even put in our -5 value in there and run it again, and we see we get the same result. Another way we're going to look at to import is we can use this from keyword, and we can say from math. Let's import just one of or several of the items that are in the math library if I separate by commas, but in this case we're just going to import the float absolute value. And because I've imported just that fabs functionality, I don't have to use the .math anymore. I can now call fabs. So let's go ahead and test that, and we see again we get that same result. And if I put my 12 in there like we looked at before, you see we get that as well. And we can also use decimal points, and I'll use a negative value. We run it again, and we see it's positive 12.8. So now we know 3 different ways that we can import. We can import the name of the module. We can import using an alias with the as keyword, and we can use from the name of the module and import just a single function.